like, okay, he, him, but as a fellow non-binary, I just have a feeling that that Twitter bio would say he, they. I just feel it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lovecast, the BL podcast. I'm your host, Alexa, and I have my fellow hosts, Kayla and Pixie, with me today.
Hi.
Hey.
Ooh. Happy Pride, everyone. It is Pride Month. We are back with our annual Pride episode. And of course, we had to invite another creator in the community to join us. So we're so happy to have Topher with us today.
Hi.
Yay! Welcome to Lovecast. We are,
Thank you for having me.
yes, so excited to talk about your Pride recommendations and go through our little list that we've curated. But before we jump into it, Topher, can you introduce yourself and the kind of content you make in the BL, GL, QL space for those who might not be as familiar with your content?
Yes, I am Topher. Primarily, I'm over on YouTube under Topher Reacts, where I started as a music reactor and just kind of fell down a BL rabbit hole during quarantine. I got one recommendation, and then that led to a second recommendation. 2, 3 years later, here we are. Um, I'm also the director of the growth team of Drama Llama, which is going to be a up and coming social media platform for the BLGL fandom. So if you enjoy BL and GL, then be sure to follow social or Drama Llama for all of your fun needs. But yeah, I mainly do reactions. Every once in a while, I'll dabble outside of reactions and commentary, and I'll try and do like an original piece, like an original commentary or something. But those take a lot more time and effort, and reactions I can just kind of
Yeah.
crank out like nobody's business. So not
Yeah.
quite as often as I'd like to, and especially if the views don't really come. But
Yeah.
yeah, you content creators, you know.
The content creator space.
Mhm.
We know the struggle.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yes, we love Topher. We love your content. We love Drama Llama. So it felt like only a given that we invited you to join us for our Pride episode this year.
Oh, and I'm gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pride. Happy Pride.
Very relevant
Surprise.
fact. Surprise.
You didn't notice.
Yes, that is actually a prerequisite for no straights allowed during this episode. Okay, so this is our annual Pride episode, and over the past couple of years, we've kind of curated it into this thing where we kind of do a themed recommendations episode where we share BLs or GLs or other queer media that kind of fit whatever theme we've chosen for the year. So the first year, I think we just did general like BLs that we recommend you watch during Pride. And last year we did BLs and GLs based on the meanings of the colors in the Pride flag. So this year, we were inspired by author A.K. Mulford on TikTok, and we wanted to share our recommendations for rainbow representation in the BL, GL, queer love space. So the idea is kind of, and I'll link the TikTok down below as well so you guys can kind of see where it came from. But the idea is we go through different identities under the LGBTQ plus umbrella and share different characters or shows or examples of representation in that particular identity. And then in the end, we'll kind of have curated a great little Pride list for everyone to check out and hopefully watch along with us. So yeah, that's the general idea. So with these episodes, we always just kind of round robin it. The first one I had on the list was probably the one that is going to be easiest for us to give examples of in the BL space. So gay representation in queer love. I've been kind of adapting that term since we're talking about more than just BL in this episode. But yeah, so representation for gay characters or great shows that you recommend for gay representation in the queer love space. Does anyone feel particularly strongly about starting this one off? Yes, no, maybe.
I have a
I can
relevant
always...
one.
Okay. If you have a
I bel
relevant one, then we can start with Kayla.
I believe the new episode came out today, but I have to shout out Cher from Wandy Good Day.
Mm-hmm.
Cher is my twink of the month right now. I I'm obsessed with him. Like, he's just so gay. I just can't.
It's so gay.
I would actually live for a series that is just based on him and Oi. Is that his name? Oi,
Mm-hmm.
Oi. Their novel, because I know they have their own novel, and
Mm-hmm.
I want more of it. I thought it was crazy that like we get some random lore drops from Cher, but we never really have discovered what happened, like how the two
Mm-hmm.
met, and I just would love to know more of his backstory because I'm obsessed with him. Um, and I just feel like if you're not watching Wandy Good Day, then what are you doing? I
Yeah. Shows to watch during Pride. I feel like that's top of the list right now.
definitely, and like I'm someone who I've been like very critical with GMMTV series. I feel like the past year, just like the writing, and of course there is always time for shows to
Mm-hmm.
still kind of drop the ball near the end there,
Yes.
but I genuinely love Wandy Good Day right now. And
Mm-hmm.
like I did not even really care when this series was announced either, and I love it. So it's been like
Mm-hmm.
pleasantly entertaining, definitely very gay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Definitely very yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. And I just feel like if not for any reason to watch this series, like if you need a reason, just watch it to see that scene where Fluke sits on Thor's lap and then he carries him bridal style.
Yeah.
I've watched that scene so many times. I've watched it so many
Yes.
times.
Yes.
I need the TikTok editors to send me
Step
all
up
of
the
the
game.
share edits because there are not enough on my For You page right now and it feels a little homophobic.
During Pride Month.
Like,
did it during Pride Month.
I need more like quick, like cunty share edits. There's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I just need more of it. I need more of him. Um, definitely the gayest character in that show, I think. And I
100%.
love Fluke's rainbow like tattoo that he has. Also, I
Yes.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice. So yeah, I'm kind of like I think I'm becoming a fan of him in general too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that character is just so great.
Yeah.
And Wandy Good Day, very entertaining. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I just love the energy that his character has. Like, I love that he like has this whole gym on lock. He has his man on lock. He's super funny. He's super.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's just adorable. I really love the scene. I really like his relationship with Yak. And I guess it was last
Same.
episode. Where he could always tell like when something's going on with Yak, and like he started off kind of
Mm-hmm.
joking, and then he was like, okay, going into serious mode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Like I just like I love his energy, and I love the dynamic he has with everyone in the show. And 100%, like I don't have like second couple syndrome per se, because I really enjoy everything that's going on in the show, but he is definitely like, in terms of characters, he's a highlight of the show for sure, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess if we want to keep it kind of going in a circle, we can go up to me and then Pixie and then Topher, if that works.
Okay.
Okay. So I was gonna be really basic and talk about Yai and Jam, but right before right right before we sat down to record, I was trying to think of some shows outside of Thailand because I have a lot of Thai shows on my list, and I thought of Chun Sang Wong from Love for Love's Sake, who was the support character who was in love with Myung Ha, but solely thinking of that iconic scene, which I forget what episode it's in, maybe about halfway through the show, where like, you know, he's a character who's kind of like the leader of like the bullies, I would say. Like he's not really a bully, but like they kind of all respect him for a number of different reasons. And there's this one bully that had been fighting with the main characters in the show, and Myung Ha, who's the main character, ended up kissing him to kind of like freak him out and scare him away. And so it's after that, and this bully is going on and on about how like these characters are so gay, and he's using it in a derogatory term, and he thinks it's okay, like that Sangwon's gonna agree with him because, like, you know, he's the leader of the
Mhm.
bullies, you know, he's the leader of our crew. But then Sangwon's just like, I'm gay though, and then punches him in the face. And it's literally just like that scene, the highlight of the show. Like, and that was a moment where I was like, I love this character so much. And in general, I thought he was just like a very interesting character. But that scene, like punching homophobes, like perfect thing to highlight during Pride Month. And I just really
Yes.
appreciated that. It was really funny. It was really well done. And I just love the way his character delivered the line. He was just like, I'm gay though. And then pff, right in the face. So I don't know. I just really liked his character and the kind of role he played in the show as like a second lead who was very clear in his feelings, but like wasn't an asshole to the main characters in the show. And so I just, thinking of people kind of outside of the Thai drama sphere, he was one of the characters who came to mind for me. So yeah.
Yeah. I like there's a lot I could choose there.
So,
But like I have a lot of examples. Like I have too much to choose from. And I'm just like, okay, but what's the first thing that hit me when I thought about gay representation? I'm just Sand and Ray from Only Friends. I love the messiness of it, and just like we don't have a lot of BL that goes towards a more total mess. And I appreciate that because that's how I feel. So I feel represented in Only Friends, okay?
messy gay representation is valid.
I can see myself in those characters. No, so I love their dynamic and just all the tropes and all the mess that I enjoy with fiction and TV and everything's in there. So yeah, Only Friends, obsessed.
Yeah. I feel like they can also give us messy bi representation too, because Sand
Oh
is
yes.
Yeah.
bi as well. So they kind of cover both messy gay, messy bi, bring them together, and you just get peak messiness, messy queer people. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
I am very glad that nobody picked my choice because
Oh.
That's
because
always a worry with these type of episodes.
of all the categories, this is the one I had the least options for. Surprisingly, there's probably the most representation, and I only had one option. So I'm like, I'm glad no one mentioned. Um,
Fair.
but I ended up going with Vlad from Guys Up
Oh.
Yes.
because like watching that, I've watched so many series at this point, but there's just something about his character that I related to at the time, of being like an out and proud gay man who can understand everyone needs their time to discover who they are and everyone needs their time to go on their journey and come out when they're ready to,
Mm-hmm.
but also wanting to find somebody who's already made their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because he even said, like, I don't want to be, I've already been someone's springboard into bisexuality, or I've already been someone's test for this and the other, been that too. And it's like, I don't want to do that again. I understand that you need your time and I'm not going to take that from you. And honestly, that's one of the big takeaways from that series, where it's like, sometimes people are really right for each other. It's just not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mhm.
just appreciate his understanding and not trying to force the relationship to happen, and
100%.
giving Carl his time to discover what he needs to do. I'm so sad we did not get a second season, but I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand all the stuff that happened behind the scenes. Great art came out of an unfortunate circumstance in that case, but
Yeah.
I've just always just kind of related to him, and I just really, really like him. Plus, Ian Pangilinan, I just love that man.
Chef's kiss.
Nums.
Nums. Yeah, no, definitely what you said about like him being a character who understood where Carl was at in his journey and respected that, and very importantly, like didn't try and pressure him into something. Because I feel like in relationships in general, this is not just a queer relationship thing, but there's a lot of like this, we have to figure out how to make this work. Or like, you know I love this person, so like we should try and make this work. And this is in media and in real life, I think. But like, this whole show being about these characters are on two different I cannot say this word, trajectories in their lives at the moment, and like it's kind of like those ships passing by where like they had this really significant impact on each other for that moment in time, and it's like maybe they'll come back together again in the future. We at this point, like, it's up to us to interpret that, but just him, being respectful of Carl's journey, but also understanding his own journey and where he was at and his needs, and like standing firm in that was just like very refreshing to see in a character. I love Vlad. Yeah.
I feel like we need to shout out Not Me as a whole.
True.
Because at first I was like that would be a really good one for gay representation, but actually it's like all representation,
Very diverse,
if I'm remembering correctly. So that's another one if we wanted to include that in the gay category. I didn't have anyone else for like gay characters. I just had Cher. So I can move on.
Yeah. No, did anyone else have anyone they wanted to mention?
No,
I'll shout out Yai and Jom. You guys already
then.
know how I feel about Yai and Jom. So I don't need to go into, I've done enough spiels about them in different episodes, but just know they're always on my mind. So yes,
Same.
so the next category, same, yes. So the next we had lesbian representation in QL. So different BLs, GLs, queer media, where we've seen some great lesbian characters. Kayla, did you want to start us off?
So I had every character in Gap, the series. But if I must
Sam on my
like
list.
focus on one, I was gonna say Sam. Because I love Sam. I'm a Sam apologist. She's so valid. She's never done anything wrong, and she's hot. Like we love.
That's
we
all
love
you need.
But I feel like I had to mention Gap because I guess it was like the first major Thai GL, and it like really set the precedent for all these other GLs that are now coming out, and that's just really cool that it occupies that space in just like Thai GL, the history of Thai GL, if you will. And you know what's crazy is the Free and Becky fans are everywhere. Like, it did not matter where I went in Thailand. The Free and Becky fans were there. And they all have these like custom, for real, they all have these custom Free and Becky shirts. And
I want one.
They're just like, right? They're like decked out. And I have to appreciate the grind a little bit because they're just everywhere. Like, I can't even convey that. The impact that Gap had, like, not even just internationally, but in Thailand, like, Freen and Becky are so popular because of that show, and people love that show. Like, it had just the biggest impact ever, which was really cool to kind of see firsthand. And as much as there were some like writing issues in Gap that I wasn't that crazy about, maybe some like pacing, or I wish we got more of one thing and less of another, I really do love Gap. Like, it made me bawl my eyes out. The wedding scene at the end.
Oh my God.
yeah, even just like seeing like a lesbian wedding scene in a
Mm-hmm.
Thai series was really cool. Um and yeah, I just feel like everyone should watch Gap, and the whole cast, I mean, just lesbians. So many lesbians,
Say
and
less. Oh
they're
boy.
all beautiful.
And Hang. And Hang
Yeah.
is always there
And
too.
Hang is the he becomes an ally after some time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, definitely Gap. Definitely.
Hmm. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback, since I also had Sam on my list, I just thought like Kayla said, like all of Gap is worthwhile because there's so many queer women in that show, which is like they said, unprecedented for Thailand at the time that it came out. But Sam specifically, I think I just really felt like her character had a lot of depth in terms of her relationship with her family and reconciling her queer identity with this, and the sort of comp het that she was kind of fighting with, and being, I guess they weren't really arranged marriage, but like being very heavily encouraged to, like, she was in this relationship with Hank's character, whose name is escaping me at this point, and feeling very pressured to marry him because of the business implications and what that meant for her family. So, like, I agree that it definitely is not a perfect show, but I think her character in particular had the most emotional impact on me when I was watching it, and just watching her go
Mhm.
through her journey of not being able to say no to her grandmother, to kind of fighting against that because of Mon, to struggling when her grandma gets sick, and kind of how things all come full circle in the end. I just feel like her journey as like a lesbian in the show was just like very, very impactful, and definitely made me very emotional. So I wanted to talk about her specifically from Gap.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, Pixie.
Yeah. Um so I wanted to bring up Darcy and Tara from Heartstopper.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Just like the fact that we get introduced to them when when they're already in the relationship, and get like to see a journey of how you navigate through like a teenage love, and going through all of that. And yeah, I just I I think it was really sweet and really soft at the same time as it highlighted some like genuine angsty stuff that would
Mm-hmm.
like break us as teenagers. Like especially the whole part of like telling your partner that you love them, and they not
Oh, they
like
don't say it back.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just like the angst you get from that. I was feeling that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I think the second season of the show did a great job of expanding more on the, I was gonna say the dark side, that's not the right word. I guess like the inner workings of Darcy specifically, which was nice. I
mm,
think in season one we kind of got more of Tara's struggle of being like
yeah.
out as a lesbian. And so
Mhm.
focusing more on Darcy in season two, and kind of her journey with her parents, and
Yeah.
not feeling like she's not able to be her full self with Tara was another one that, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
cry easily, but it definitely made me like very, very emotional. Like that, I guess it was episode 8 when they kind of had that moment, and
Yeah.
they finally, like, she finally realized the truth about Darcy, and they had their little I love you
Mm-hmm.
moment. And then they
Mm-hmm.
all danced to that Taylor Swift song playing over top of them.
I
Mhm.
gotta
Yeah.
watch this. Hold on. Add this to my list
Yeah,
real quick.
yeah.
I've been so behind on things.
Heartstopper is another one that I feel like,
Mm.
similar to
There's
Not
a
Me, it
lot of
has all kinds
representation.
of
All.
Mm.
representation. So you will
Mhm.
get like the whole smorgasbord when you're watching that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I had a couple, but I think the one that was pulling me more so than the others on my list were Ink and Paw from Bad Buddy.
Mhm.
It was my introduction to Milk Love. It's where my love and obsession with Milk Love began. And while I love 23.5, I think I prefer the characters they played in Bad Buddy more than I did Ong San Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have loved like a full-fledged series with those characters because like Milk and Love are fantastic actresses and I want to see them as adults. I want to see them in adult roles. Please stop putting people in high school. But I just, for me, they stole the show. They stole the entire once she came on screen and I saw her interact with Pa for like all of 3 seconds. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to ship this, but I ship this. Like, I'm kind of here for this. And then it went on. I'm like, oh, we're actually shipping this. Okay. And that's where my focus went the rest of the series. Like, I just absolutely loved. So I would love to get more of them. But yeah, they were my main one.
Ink and Paw was so great because, like you said, like when they first interacted, we were all very much like, is this like the thing that's gonna happen? Like, are they going there? And then like that moment when you realize that, oh, they're actually going there, like when you realize like, oh, I can be fully in on like this as a relationship that's gonna happen. Oh, it was such a gratifying feeling watching that while the show was airing. Oh, I also, Pixie talked about established relationships, and it made me think. I wanted to mention from Deep Night, Freya, and I don't know how to pronounce the other person's name, Meiji, who Freya is the mom of the main character, and Meiji is like her girlfriend. So they also come onto the show like as an established relationship, and they have a pretty minimal role in Deep Night, but they currently have like a spin-off show that's airing. It's like short 15-minute episodes. It's kind of giving more of the backstory of their relationship. And I think they're also going to have like their own full-length show as like a Deep Night sequel that's called Deep Love, which is just like focused on them. But specifically, like, not only is it an established relationship, but they're older sapphics. So like Freya, I think they're both probably in their 40s. Like Freya has a son who is in college, which is Shogun's character in Deep Night. And Meiji, I don't think we ever really get her age. She might be a little bit younger. But just something about like the older sapphic representation, which we also got a little bit of in 23.5 with Nita and Bam Bam, which was a nice surprise as well. I just feel like they're always worthwhile to shout out. And they're also just like really cute. I was watching their little spin-off show yesterday kind of to prepare for this episode, and it's just like fucking adorable. I love seeing older lesbians get to be in love, so shout out to them. Definitely recommend checking out at least their spin-off if you don't really want to watch Deep Night as a whole, which I think was still a pretty decent show. So yeah,
you mentioning them reminded me of the established lesbian couple in Laws of Attraction.
oh my god, yes, with Sylvie.
Yes. I don't know. I totally forgot about them. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they were great too.
Yes, 100%. Okay, so the next category we have is by representation. So this is my home. This is where I live. The bisexual characters. So yeah, Kayla, I keep calling on you to start us off, so you can go in order.
It's okay because I feel very strongly about this one, and I know that Topher loves this series as well. Pearl from Game Boys.
Oh my god.
Top of my list. Yes. First one on my list. Go ahead.
Queen Pearl.
I might be misremembering because it's been like quite a while since I've actually sat down and watched Game Boys, but I think they only hinted to her being bisexual in that one, and then it was Pearl Next Door where it's kind of more obviously like her story. It's confirmed. I don't remember like the details of whenever we kind of discover that about her character, but I really wanted to highlight Pearl because I love her. I love Game Boys. Pearl Next Door was a trip. And I remember her like bisexuality being like a huge plot point in Pearl Next Door. Like I remember there being so much discourse about like
Mm-hmm.
her identity being invalidated. I'm forgetting all the characters' names. Carlene, that character. There was a lot of like biphobia that was
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm.
exhibited through that character. And as much as it drove me crazy, like I can't deny that I feel like Pearl Next Door did a really good job at like addressing the biphobia that pops up in the lesbian community specifically.
Mm.
And just like that kind of social awareness is why I've always loved the Game Boys universe. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really cute, really funny, but also like very socially conscious and just like aware and
Mm.
almost like educational, but not in a like strictly informative way, in more like an entertaining way. I've always loved that about like everything out of the Game Boys universe. And yeah, I love that. I think Game Boys in a way also celebrates a lot of different identities, if I'm remembering correctly again. And I love how in that series I feel like they give space for every character to be heard and like
Mhm.
seen. You get everyone's stories pretty thoroughly, not just Pearl. Um, and yeah, I just will always love the Game Boys universe and will be like one of my top recommendations for, I guess, like a queer love series, a BL series, and
Mm-hmm.
then Pearl Next Door with the
Mm.
GL series. Just all of it. So good. We love Pearl.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Full stop. Yeah, 100%. Um, I had, and this is such a self-indulgent pick, but I had Tiffy from Lovely Writer.
But
Um,
true.
but
Yes,
yes, uh,
Queen.
Queen. Yes, this is like Zorzo is like she is like my number one crush. Like I am obsessed with
Mhm.
her, and I will forever think about that. One of those first scenes that we got with Tiffy where she like gets on the motorcycle and it's just like in the leather and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But I also like that she was like one of the earlier examples, I think, that we got of a bi female character. I guess kind of in the
Mhm.
same um, time frame, timeline wise, around when we got Pearl, because this would have been in 2021. But I
Mhm.
think at the time, a lot of characters, especially in Thai BL, if there's a female character in Thai BL, like she's often just there as a catalyst for one of the main male romances. So I
Hmm.
Yeah.
primarily like that Tiffy was there as a friend for Jean and the leads in the show and Nubsib, but I also just like that her bisexuality was so like casually discussed, like her kind of sitting down
Mhm.
and talking about the story of like having dated a girl in the past and now she was I forget what the name of the guy who like she was paired with was in the show, but um I just love the way that they like kind of told her story and like kind of had her have that moment of talking about being bisexual and having been romantically interested in and romantically involved with women in the past and kind of how that impacted her approach to relationships and like aesthetically, like with the motorcycle thing, she fits the bi aesthetic so well. So I
Mhm.
just think it's a very self-indulgent character. Like I love her as a character in Lovely Writer. She wasn't a huge part of the show, but I think when she was there her character was impactful and it was just nice to have like
Mhm.
explicit bi woman in a BL series. So yeah, I
Yeah.
love Tiffy.
Yeah. I I had her on my list too.
Hmm.
Honestly, it's one of the characters that I really remember well from Lovely Writer. But seeing as I knew you were going to talk about Tiffy, I had to rethink. So I ended up on, and this needs some explaining because the character in itself is not the greatest character. Um, we from Love Mechanics.
Ah, okay.
Ah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
He is a
Give me your
very
platform.
flawed man, okay? That boy needs to learn a couple of lessons, and he should probably have learned them better in the show as well. But I think, as in general, the show, and the story and the plot, while it's not perfect, there are issues in it. It's still good, and it's out of the ordinary, and it's it was just, and I'm talking about the remake now, just
Yeah, like the
want
full,
to underline
the full
that,
series.
not
Yeah.
the first, the full-on show. I really enjoyed it, and I think like they had like this darker feel of the show that I really enjoyed, and I just love Jin and
War.
I do. Jin and War. And they were like, they've grown so much from the first love mechanic, end of love thing, and until doing the full on love mechanics. And it's just, I think everyone should watch that show. And it's good, like it's representation. Like early on, like Alexa was talking about, this wasn't a show that came out last year, right? So
Yeah.
it's
No,
one of
I've
the
always
earlier
loved that
ones.
one. I really do like Love Mechanics.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, Pearl was the first one on my list. But the only reason Pearl was at the top of my list is because I saw Tiffy was already taken. 'Cause anytime I see or think like bisexual representation, blah blah blah, Tiffy is the first person that comes to mind because
Yeah.
she's just
Queen
fabulous,
Tiffy.
absolutely fabulous.
Mhm.
Like it's always hilarious. Anytime I'm watching series, like I'm always like so excited for representation that it's not gay because I'm like, that's great, I've seen it. Show me all the other stuff. So anytime a bi character or a trans character, I'm like, yay! So like,
Same.
I saw Tiffy and I fell in love. Like she's just,
Yeah.
and she's a badass. Like,
Yeah.
oh god, I love her. But other options I had, which one should I go with? Let's go with Xavier from Hello Stranger. Like I feel like Hello Stranger was his. Obviously, he started the series dating whatever her name was. I don't remember. But it was his journey into getting to know Miko, and throughout the series, he fell in love with Miko, and then throughout the movie, that kind of was just like the cherry on top of it. They rekindled, they fell in love, this, that, the other. And when he came out to his parents, he's like, "What does this mean?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm gay, bi, fluid. I don't know." And like, I genuinely believe it. Like, there are so many series where I'll watch where it's like, "I'm not gay, but I'm gay for
I
you,"
like you.
and it feels like they're kind of just erasing the entire history they had as a straight person before, which maybe they were, maybe they weren't, I don't know. But like with him, I genuinely feel like, no, he enjoyed his time with his girlfriend beforehand. That was the life he lived. If he broke up with Miko, he could go either way, and I feel like he genuinely just likes who he likes, and it's not so much this is a guy, this is a girl. And I buy him as bi. I don't know if he's canonically bi, but I buy him as bi. And that's where a lot of these people on my list came from. I'm like, I don't know if they're canonically bi, but I will buy them as bi. And then shout out for Alex from Red, White, and Royal Blue, because
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Another canonical bi character. Yes. But yeah, I think that's why I was like, headcanons are fine because so many of these shows, they don't really explicitly say anyone's sexuality. So a lot of it you're just picking up from like context clues almost of like the character's journey throughout the show. But one that we did have that is canonical that I was fully expecting Pixie to mention was Win from
Oh my god!
Until We Meet Again in Between Us. I was like waiting for that to be, because he is like one of the very explicit, like has said he is bisexual. Um,
That's right.
Listen,
and I was
have
like,
not
Pixie's
been sleeping too
100%.
well, and my memory has been going off. I'm old, okay? I'll be 35 next month. I'm going senile.
You're over the hill.
No.
Oh no.
no.
But yeah,
Yes.
I didn't have him on my list because I was like, if it comes to Win Team, Pixie is going to mention it. But you know, her memory, I guess, is not all there anymore. So, but
In
Win
my old
is
age. Yeah.
one of the characters that we do have that has specifically said he is bisexual. So
Yeah,
shout out to Win. Just had to mention him.
And there was what, Alex in Until We Meet Again, well, who also
Oh yeah, the one
same
that
same thing.
Dude. How did you remember
his character? Right, I forgot about him because he was the one that the actor. He was like in the acting club. He was interesting. Yeah, he wasn't a great character, but he was
No, but he
canonically
said it.
bisexual.
He said the words.
Oh, so
God.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
in terms of headcanons, this is probably, and I think bisexual and pansexual, of course, there's generally a lot of, I don't know if overlap's the right word, but you know, there are some people who see them as the same thing, some people who view them as separate identities. So, this can kind of, you know, is another one that I think is going to be largely up to interpretation. And I don't think there is one, the example I have is one that I know very recently that was canonically mentioned, but I think this is one that's going to be a lot of like, probably headcanons or how you've interpreted the character, and that is pansexual representation and queer love. So yeah, Kayla, do you wanna start?
Okay, this is definitely where the headcanoning begins for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need you guys to just hear me out.
Stick with you.
Along for the journey. Let's go.
And okay, I feel a little silly with this one because I'm like, this is a Pride episode and I'm recommending this show.
Okay.
But they're the first character I thought of for some reason. Porsche from Kin Porsche.
Okay.
Okay.
Based on what we see in the series, I would dare to say that he likes everyone. And I don't really think his attractions are like limited by sexuality or gender. That's just the vibe I got. Like we see him with like at least like one woman at the bar, and then of course with Kin, but he just gives off like this energy of like attraction regardless of gender. That's just how I feel. And I guess I don't really have anything else to add. I just pansexual Porsche is definitely a headcanon of mine.
I appreciate the alliteration.
Pansexual
Yes,
Porsche, yes.
pansexual Porsche.
Strictly for the alliteration.
It has a ring to it. It really does. But I mean, everyone knows I love Kin Porsche as much as I love critiquing it. I'll always recommend it to some degree. I do feel weird recommending it in a Pride episode, but I mean, it is queer.
Gay shit does happen.
Listen,
A lot of gay shit happens.
gay shit,
So-
gay shit happens. A lot of other shit happens too, but gay shit does in fact happen.
It
I
was-
can
yeah.
understand what you're saying about his like aura that he gives off though. Like
Mhm.
I feel like the way he introduced his character was like as someone who is just like there is attraction in general around like Porsche as a Porsche as a person, not Porsche as a portion. So yeah,
Wow.
I can Porsche as a portion too, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I can get behind pansexual Porsche 100%.
I see it.
Yeah. Like I think everyone on my list except for one person is like, yeah, I just feel energy.
You get the
about them.
vibes. Yeah.
There's vibes. I'm like, I can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had on my list, and I'm going to be very honest and say that I have not actually been watching the show, but I saw the talk about the character, so I watched the clips related to him. So there's a currently airing BL on called Knock Knock Boys, and there's a character in that show who has canonically stated that he is pansexual, and I was like, I saw, I don't know, I think I probably saw people on Tumblr talking about it. So I went and like watched a bunch of clips, and specifically the clip where he's saying he's pansexual. And he's talking about how he's drawn to person, not based on gender. It's all about the vibe he gets from them and how he connects with them as a person. And I also thought it was interesting because there was like this tidbit of his one friend asking him like, oh, what does it mean to be pan? And kind of having this show of people not quite, I guess, understanding pansexuality. And I think that is a pretty common thing, like especially if you're talking to people who are not as familiar with the different identities in the queer community. I think a lot of people who are maybe just allies or aren't super well versed yet kind of just see pan and bi as the same thing. And I think that's kind of what this conversation with his friend was getting off on here. He was kind of like, well, what does that mean compared to, you know, just being bi kind of thing. So I have not watched the show, so I have seen people enjoying it. From what I've seen, I've seen people really enjoying his character. But I just thought it was worthwhile, as I mentioned, because he specifically said the term pan, and I thought that was really cool because we don't, like we're saying, don't get a lot of that. So shout out to Latte from Knock Knock Boys.
Wow. No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So mine, like Kayla, is completely headcanon. And I don't think, like, I don't know if anyone will agree, but okay, listen, and it's just not one person, it's both of them, like the couple, like in my head, they are both pan. It is Ram King from My Engineer. I'm just like, they are like, you just imagine, like, they initially when they start like having a relationship, they're not really interested in each other that way, either of them. They're sort of just like just establishing a connection kind of thing that's driving them onwards, and they don't show any interest for anyone else either, right? And you don't get enough background to know if there's ever been anyone else. But yeah, it's just, they give off pan to me.
I see it. I was gonna, to be funny, I was gonna put them under lesbian.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it more, and then I almost put Talei's character as non-binary. So I kind of get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like, I again, like not being, I guess, constricted by like gender or sexuality. Like I really do get that vibe from Ram King.
Yeah, and they are so attracted to each other's personalities through all of this. Like that's what connects them. And it's just, it's super interesting. And I will also say, as like I have one more on my list that I want to mention, and that's Nose, is that his name, from Old Fashioned Cupcake?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That man does not have any interest for anyone until he gets a connection with Togawa. And even then, at the beginning, like, no, he gives off pan to me.
I can see that. Absolutely. I had a few, but most of them were kind of like, because I Googled some things, and most of them were like, are they bi or are they pan? I'm like, I can feel energy where I'm like, I could see them just loving everyone in spite of everything. But first one is like canonically bi, not from BL, but from show Schitt's Creek, character David.
Oh yeah.
And specifically, like, I love his little speech he gave when they're like shopping for wine, and I forget what her name was, but she's like, so do you like red wine or white wine? And he's like, I do drink red wine, but I also drink white. And I've been known to sample occasional rosé. A couple summers ago, I tried a Merlot that used to be a Chardonnay. It got a bit, and she's like, "What does that mean?" And he's like,
"We love a metaphor."
It's like, I like the wine, not the label. And I'm like, there we go. Enough said. It's like I've always just loved that
Mm-hmm.
entire interaction. But in the BL world, well, A, the entire cast of three will be free. No one can argue otherwise for me. That
No,
entire
agree.
cast is just one
Correct.
big polyamorous, or not poly, well, yes, polyamorous, but also just one big pansexual, polyamorous, whatever things happen. Like, no one can
Mm-hmm.
convince me otherwise. And then, people, when I was looking online, people were saying Tangi from History 3 Trapped. And at first I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I see this. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, "Hmm, maybe. There's energy there, similar to Porsche, where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I could. I
Hmm.
could see, like, obviously, we see his romance developing with Xiao Fei, and that's the premise of the show. But I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
could feel him if Xiao Fei weren't here, just loving people. I could just
Mm-hmm.
see him like it really doesn't matter. I'm a badass mafia man. I run this shit. Who you gonna judge me? Like I just see him loving people, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay. And obviously, I'm always going to recommend History 3 Trapped. Like,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a
Obviously.
time in my life you will not see me recommend History 3 Trapped. Yeah, I'd go with that one.
I can get behind that. Yeah. 100%.
Hmm.
Interesting. I like these headcanons. It's interesting to see how other people read characters. I enjoy it.
Same.
Okay, so next we have asexual. I also think we can put like a romantic spectrum under this category as well, if anyone had anyone that they
Mm-hmm.
thought fit in more of that frame representation, which we have been getting a little bit more explicit representation in this form as of late. So, Kayla, do you want to start us off again?
Okay, headcanon once again, but I feel very strongly about this one. Like, I think I'm right.
Okay.
um, Mamoru from Kaibe Koji is so asexual.
Mm.
Like,
Okay, yes.
he
Mm-hmm.
gives me the asexual vibes for sure because, like, it's the fact that he draws this hypersexualized manga that consists of,
Mm.
like, exclusively
Mm-hmm.
man titties. And it has like zero effect on him or like correlation to his own desires. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
strictly in it for the artistic value. Like it's not even really like self-indulgent. He just is an artiste.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows
Artiste.
exactly right. He knows exactly who he's catering to, I feel. But
Mm-hmm.
he's not one of them. Like I feel like he's not doing it self-indulgently. He's not catering to himself or what he likes. And it's like if you see his art, you would think that he's in a constant state of like horniness, but really he's just like always, oh my gosh, what's the word? He's always like self-deprecating
Mm.
and just like depressed.
Felt.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, I honestly I would say why not be both, but whatever works for him. But yeah. That being said, I do clock him as a romantic as well
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like even when he had that crush on Issei in high school, it was like more of him like admiring him or like idolizing him than it was him
Mm-hmm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
having romantic feelings for him. And then like add on the
Mm-hmm.
fact that now in current time Issei is an idol, it kind of like adds this very complicated layer to everyone's feelings. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Mamoru is he gives me asexual, aromantic, and I love Kaibe Koji, and I feel like even beyond any of that, like a lot of people could relate to the story, could relate to like
Mm-hmm.
the character's feelings of like inadequacy and just like not being satisfied with where he is in life, which is a running theme for Japanese BL.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of them go there. But yeah, I feel like no matter what, no matter what you identify it with as really, I feel like you could feel seen watching this show. Um
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
That's a good one. I've been I don't think I've like thought back on Kabe Koji much since the first time I watched it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, yes, I see this 100%. Yeah.
I see it.
Okay, I have one that is canonical on my list, and then I also do have a headcanon. So, of course, one of the most recent forms of ace representation that we've seen is Cow in Wandy Good
Mhm.
Day. So, going back to what Kayla said before about Wandy Good Day just being like a
Yes.
good queer series, Cow is Drake's character, and literally like basically the first time we get introduced to his character, they are like he is asexual, like an asexual character, and especially they haven't done it as much lately, but in the first episode or two they kind of show him like talking more about his experiences dating while being
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
asexual and having conversations with the people trying to explain that like I like this, but I don't necessarily want to have sex, or like we can still
Mm-hmm.
be in a relationship and cuddle, but I just don't want these things, and kind of how it's hard for him to find someone that understands it. Um, and also really liked, even though it ended up in him dissing Drake's eyebrows, I also liked that conversation that he had with Wandy, where
Really?
Wandy was like, "Oh, it will be fine. The only problem here is your eyebrows." And I was like, first of all,
Do
Drake's
not
eyebrows are never a
hashtag men's
problem.
eyebrows.
They are
But
I will
big.
come for you.
but I also love that Wandy was like, I mean, yeah, like if we were like if I had romantic interest in you, like that wouldn't be an issue. So I thought that was a
Mm-hmm.
nice little tidbit for their friendship. And I'm hoping he's kind of similar to Kabe Koji in that like he is a therapist who is very much specialized in like sexual health and like sexual therapy and relationships and kind of
Mm-hmm.
helping characters
Mhm.
understand their sexual needs more, but like he himself is asexual. So I think that's a pretty common trope that we do see in like explicit ace characters, is that like
Mm-hmm.
they're knowledgeable and like they have like a line of work or something that is very like not sexually explicit but related to sex, but they themselves are just like
Mhm.
not really something I care about or not really something I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And then my headcanon, I have so many headcanons about this character, but I have always headcanoned Jean from Lumley Rider as being demi, both demi-romantic and
Mhm.
demisexual. So demi-romantic
Mm.
and demisexual is kind of like the whole you need to have established an emotional connection with someone before you want to see them romantically or be involved with them sexually. And
Mhm.
so kind of similar to the other characters mentioned, he is a BL writer and he's writing these kind of like steamy BL novels, but he himself is kind of very removed from anything romantic before Nubsib comes into his life. And even when he first meets Nubsib, they kind of don't necessarily have like an immediate connection that's romantic. If anything, there's a little bit of like not dislike, but it's a little bit antagonistic at the start. But like the more he gets to know him, he's able to kind of open up and be um more expressive of his emotions with Nubsib and his feelings about Nubsib. And Nubsib is very like gentle with him on his journey, and kind of helping Jean understand the feelings that he's having for Nubsib. I always love that scene with drunk Jean in episode 4 where he's like really drunk and confused about what he's feeling, and Nubsib is just kind of like, we can figure it out, like, you know, like we don't have to rush into anything. So he's someone I've always had canon as being on the demi spectrum, which is under the ace umbrella. So yeah, Jean.
Oh, I so agree with that. I really do.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have
Yep.
so many headcanons about Jean. I think I've talked about some of them before, but that's one of my big ones. He's one of my fave
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah. So, so we're on my home turf.
Yes, this is Pixie's home turf.
This is my home turf, and I have to say, like, I know you've just been talking about Cow, but I need to elaborate on Cow
Please do.
from my part. So, one of the reasons I really enjoyed Cow as a character is because I can see more of my own experiences and feelings in him, because asexuality is often like misunderstood or not, people don't really understand it,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole difference between romance, a romantic attraction versus sexual attraction
Mm-hmm.
isn't understood. And I've grown up in a society that kept telling me like, oh, there needs to be sexual attraction in a relationship for it to work. Like, you can't have a proper relationship if you don't have that. So it's so nice for me to see representation around that. Like, yes, we can have relationships without sex in them, and that's normal and okay. And that's why I love seeing that on screen, and just like, we need more of that kind of representation for people to understand better. For it took me 30 years to understand the difference between romantic attraction and sexual attraction. So yeah, I really, really, really love how they did Cow. And I think, like, even though, like, they made him very understandable. Like, they didn't complicate it too much. People are complicated, and sexualities are complicated, and everyone is going to be different. But I like that they started the representation with, like, in a way that is understandable for even people who don't feel that way.
Yeah.
And second, the girl, I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry.
From
the
Cherry
girl
Magic?
in Cherry Magic.
Yeah.
Nozomi. That was mine.
Yep.
I'll let you talk about her.
Oh, no. By all means, please go.
No. It's fine. I talk about Kyle. You go.
I mean, it's been a while since I've watched the Japanese adaptation of Cherry Magic, so I don't have all the details in my head, but that was a character outside of Cal. That was the only person who came up in my mind. I was like, did I make this up? So I'm glad someone else also had this thought process, because I did Google and I was like, okay, it is canon, or not canon, it is headcanon somewhere. Other people have this thought. But yeah, I don't remember what it was that drew me to thinking that she was asexual. There was just, I think there was some interaction she had with Adachi when he was talking about, I don't even remember, he was just being Adachi, being adorable, talking about romance or something. There's some conversation they had. I don't remember all the details, but I just remember getting those vibes from her after that conversation, where it's like, okay, cool. I don't know if they're going to go anywhere with this throughout the series, and they didn't. But I just remember having that feeling watching the series. But like I said, it's been a very long time since I've watched the Japanese adaptation.
Yeah, I can't remember specifically like what the conversation she was having with Adachi was in relation to. I'm assuming something about his relationship with Kurosawa, but I don't know the exact dialogue, but she had this line where she talks about, basically, she doesn't feel fulfilled by, like, she feels fulfilled without having romantic relationships. Like, she doesn't feel the need to date. And I think it was a couple times maybe that they kind of had that conversation. But in general, I think she was like, I feel fulfilled by other things in my life. I don't really have a desire for a relationship or romantic or other, I guess, romantic and sexual. They didn't really specify. But yeah, I think that was in general, like, the general tone of the conversation that she had been having with Adachi that kind of led to and I don't know if it's like an explicit thing in the manga. I know in the Thai adaptation, the equivalent of her character does end up in like a relationship. I mean, I think those are Jan and Sing for the characters, but yeah, so 100% she's on the list. So that was the other one. I was like, as we were talking, she came to mind, and I like had her pulled up to say in case no one else had her on the list. But yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so rounding out the list, and of course this is a non-extensive list of all the identities under the LGBTQ plus agenda, but we'll be rounding out our list today with the trans and non-binary representation in queer love. So yeah, Kayla.
Okay. Again, I feel a little silly with this one, but this is my ultimate headcanon. 100%. All in my head. But I feel it, and I'm going to plead the case today. Nant from Playboy is so non-binary.
Mm.
So non-binary. Like, okay, he, him, but as a fellow non-binary, I just have a feeling that that Twitter bio would say he, they. I just feel it. I'm telling you, like, the vibe is so strong. Like, just pull up a picture of Not and look with your eyes. I'm just saying.
No,
Like
I
the
see it.
yeah, the mullet and the tank top is giving gender
It's a
fluid.
non-binary uniform.
So it's so gender fluid. It goes beyond androgyny. It's like to the point of gender envy almost. Like that's one of those
Mm.
people you look at and you like envy just like how they exude gender. I don't know how else to say it.
No, I get it.
Um yeah. Uh just like honestly one of my favorite characters, I feel. I really hope that like people just like out there understand what I'm trying to say because truly I feel like if you just like take a look at him, you're like this is so non-binary. I don't know. Even the way that like he interacts with everyone else in the show. I'm like I just feel it. I feel it. It's like with you said like Tiffy and the leather getting off
Yep.
the bike is like the bisexual uniform. It's very much that.
Yeah.
Like the diesel tank tops, the like rich like underwear, like it's so non-binary. But the thing is I would only recommend Playboy if you have a lot of free time to kill. or or if you're someone who appreciates the message that a show is trying to convey, even if it's not executed,
Mm.
I guess
Mm-hmm.
how you would like for me, I'm really passionate about like sex work being respected as an occupation
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mhm.
like sex worker rights. So
Mm-hmm.
like Playboy's all about that. And in a weird
Yeah.
way, it makes me have a soft spot for the show because I'm like, they dared to do this. Like they went
Mm-hmm.
out of the box and they were really vocal with the messages that they were trying to convey. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, is it the best show? Not really. But the characters
They
are
tried.
kind of the characters kind of slay, not included. They kind of slay, and I can't deny that. But yeah, I feel funny with Playboy, but I guess again, it is very queer. It is very gay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's it. That's my big head canon.
I 100% see that from everything I've seen from Playboy. I feel
Mhm.
like the he they Twitter bio it's just so
You can't tell me
uh,
that would not be in the bio. Like,
I love it. I feel like mine is first of all, it's from straight media. Okay. So, this is one kind of similar to Kayla. I don't know if I would recommend it because the story itself is overall very tragic, but the character had a very profound impact on me. So it's from the Korean show DP, which is kind of like an anthology show on Netflix. It's about these people in the Korean military who go to find people who have deserted their posts at the military and basically bring them back to punish them. And in the third episode of the second season, the focus is on this character, Jang Song Min, who is like this legend, and basically for having been the person who he deserted the military and has evaded them the longest. And so the main character who we follow is kind of tasked with going out to try and find him again. And long story short, he's living in this community, and we find out that he also kind of has an alter identity, a femme alter identity, under the name Nina, where he kind of lives and performs as Nina. He does drag, he performs in music bars, as like this femme alternative Nina. And this is, you kind of come to realize that like this is his true identity. And the whole reason he escaped was to kind of get an opportunity, or deserted the military was to trying to save up to basically go to a country where he would be able to embrace that identity further. And he gets this opportunity that eventually doesn't pan out. Like I said, it is a tragic ending, which is why I can't 100% say I would recommend it. But I just like felt very impacted by the way the show handled the story of the character, and kind of giving justice to her storyline as Nina, and like existing as also Jang Sung Min, who is male and was in the military and deserted, and you kind of get that backstory on why, which you can kind of probably understand based on someone who doesn't fit within the gender binary being in the Korean military. We see him going through a lot of abuse, but there are just these very profound moments with the character where you get to see her living as Nina and performing as Nina, and she has like these really emotional performances as her, and you can kind of see that it's like truly who she's meant to be. And so even though like it kind of circles back into that like tragic queer media sphere, which is why I can't 100% say I would recommend it during Pride Month. I thought it was really, really cool that like a very popular Korean show, like this is one of the more popular Korean Netflix originals, kind of dedicated this whole episode to this gender non-conforming character. And I think there's definitely some elements of reality of what it would be like to be queer in the military in general. And I also just think that they handled the story very respectfully. And for that reason, I wanted to just shout out the character of Nina, because she just had a lot of impact on me when I was watching that show. So yeah, that was my... I have a couple others, but I'll see who else people have on their list, and I'll throw them in at the end.
Okay. Okay, so I couldn't leave this episode without bringing up Doctor Who.
Interesting.
So the newest season of Doctor Who, the new Doctor, and everything is super gay in the best way possible. I love the new season. There's a character in, she's not in a lot of the episodes, but she's there. She's part of the crew. The character name is Rose Noble. She's played by Jasmine Finney.
Yes.
We love.
Yes.
And I just love, like, she is openly like trans in the show. They the first episode they talk about it. Her grandma and mom talk about how to, like, her grandma says something like to the mom, like, was it okay how I said that, because she said to Rose that you look fabulous or something, to like, you look gorgeous today or something like that, and she was asking the mom, like, is that the right way to say it? Like, I'm trying my best here. And it's just like the way they kind of like just embraced everything, and just, it was a normal conversation. And it's just, they're not trying to hide the fact that she's a trans kid, and it's, Doctor Who is super popular and seen by a lot of people, so it's nice to see it so casually in there. And yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, I support that.
Oh, also, this is maybe a little bit unhinged, but I also, and I don't know if I can put it under this category, but I need to put it somewhere. Poor plot from why?
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't really know where poor blood. I mean,
it's never been explicitly said, but I feel like this is a good place for that character, and I think everyone should watch Why, because it is an unhinged show, and Poppy is amazing.
I have no idea what YYY is, but it's been recommended so much while I the stream takeovers. Whenever I'm like, okay, what do you want to do drinking games to? That has been thrown at me so
It's a
much.
good show for
And
drinking games. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see why they could recommend that.
I
Yeah.
haven't gotten to it yet, but
Yeah,
now,
don't
now
go
I need
into that show expecting to take it seriously.
to.
It is
Um,
amazing.
Mhm.
I had a couple. One, I guess, kind of just blanket shout out to Sense8. It's not a BL series, but I feel like there's just so much queer
Love
representation
that show
throughout
so
the main
much.
8 characters.
Yeah.
Like there's gay representation, we've got trans representation, there might be bi representation. I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Like there's just so much representation
They're
happening
all kind
there.
of
And I
inherently queer with the nature of
yeah,
the show.
yeah, and even the ones who aren't, they still are.
Yeah.
It's not like they're special shout out to them. Um, and then also another special shout out to teachers Nita and Bam Bam from 23.5, because
Hmm.
I don't know if the
Yes.
characters themselves are specifically written to be transgender, but the people in my comment section were, telling me that the actresses
That,
were. And I'm
yeah.
like,
Hmm.
again, I love seeing
Yep.
the
Mhm.
Yeah.
representation. So I don't know if the characters were intended to be, but I love seeing the trans representation
Hmm.
just on my screen.
Hmm.
But as far as characters that were explicitly said to be trans in universe, May or Mai from Three Will Be Free,
Hmm.
Jenny's character.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
talked about her in the Drama Llama roundtable we just did, and like I just love not just the focus on her character, but also just how real
Hmm.
it felt. Like this is just a person
Hmm.
working their minimum wage job, trying to save up money so that they can get their gender reaffirming surgery.
Hmm.
They found this person who loves them for them. And unfortunately, that didn't end well, but we won't talk about that part. But like it was just such a refreshing look. It's like, okay, it's she's not here for comedic effect. She's not here to just be some random side character like she kind of was in Only Friends. Like the character served a purpose in the show. She had her own storyline, different from the main trio's
Hmm.
pansexual shenanigans, and like I loved her. And then another one was Kelly from a Filipino series, Why Love Why. The series itself isn't amazing. Like
Oh.
it's very much a product of its time.
Mm.
Some of the early quarantine series and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, we had a bunch of series that were just getting cranked out at that point. So the
Hmm.
series is, it's fine. It's a fine series, but she's always someone that's stuck in my mind because similar to mine through Will Be Free, she wasn't there necessarily for comedic effect or to be laughed at and whatnot. They gave her backstory. She was this born biological son of this military man, and
Hmm.
we went through some of her backstory of how her coming out as trans ostracized her from her family and this, that, the other. And by the end of it, she also ended up finding someone, getting married, and you get her happy ever after. And I'm like, I just loved the depiction of both those. Well, Three Will Be Free, unfortunately, I don't love her how her relationship ended, but I love the depiction
Hmm.
nonetheless of both those
Yeah. Yeah.
characters.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the other person I had on my list that I was gonna wait to see if anyone else mentioned was Molly from The Warp Effect, who was Sylvie's
Oh my
character.
God. Yes.
So first of all, Sylvie is non-binary, so we love non-binary actors playing non-binary characters. But there is kind of like this. It's not a huge part of the character story arc, but Molly is someone who is trying to get into the entertainment industry, and there's this very like specific moment of they're filling out a form for to audition for this show, and it asks for their gender identity, and like there's a significant moment of Molly writing non-binary as opposed to like she, her, or cis female. Um,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and so like her character, Molly, is kind of a character who exists to kind of depict people existing outside of like the general beauty standards in the industry because she's also debatable that she would be considered plus size, but by industry standards, she Molly was by no means skinny. So I think that was a big part of their character, and also trying to book roles as someone who is, you know, now identifying themselves on as non-binary on like their applications for and auditions for roles and stuff like that. So Molly to me was one of the highlights of the Warp Effect, and I just love everything Sylvie does. So I wanted to shout out Molly as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, is there anyone else or any other shows kind of under the whole umbrella that anyone wanted to touch on that they didn't get a chance to mention earlier for whatever reason? Yes, no.
Um, there was another couple on the lesbians, and I think it might just be recency bias, but I'll mention them anyways since I have the opportunity. Unpong and Mei from I Feel You Linger in the Air. I like just finished watching that on the stream like last week or something, and I loved them. I loved how they were able to, like, you have Jom and Yai out here who are like, oh no, we've got to keep this secret, and they're terrible at keeping secrets. They can't keep secrets to save life, the secret relationship. Meanwhile, sister over here, like, I've had this secret gay relationship for like 15 years and nobody had no idea. Like, I loved seeing them together. I love that they got to be together in the end, and I just
yes, a happy ending for the lesbians, the historical lesbians.
Yes.
Also, the actress who plays Mai, there is another adaptation of another novel from the author of I Feel You Linger in the Air called The Hidden Moon. And she's also going to be in a sapphic pairing in that. So shout out to her. She is now the queen of the historical sapphics, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I love them. That's a good shout out. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, no? Okay. Well, then that's going to be all for this year's Pride episode. Of course, as we said, we know there's so many more queer identities that we didn't necessarily cover today, and so many more examples that weren't on our lists. So be sure to share your characters and shows that you would recommend for rainbow representation down in the comments or over on our socials. Like I said, I'm really interested to see how people interpret different characters. So even if they're just headcanons to you, share them, because we will have a lot of fun reading through them. And it was so lovely to have you with us today, Topher. Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a fun episode. I love listening to your thoughts on character. So we're really glad to have you here. Yeah. And we'll be sure to link all of Topher's socials down below. So be sure to follow and support his content. And also Drama Llama is really like ramping up. So be sure to check out Drama Llama. We've talked about it before with Sean on the show as well. So there's a lot of exciting things coming there. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with a friend while you're at it. All of that stuff really helps us out with the pesky YouTube algorithm. You can also check out our Patreon for early access to episodes and reviews, as well as lots of other exclusive content. But that's all we have for you guys this week. So we will see you again in another episode soon. Bye bye. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.